All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind. But we're going to have a show.
No one told me that my light isn't even on. This is what I look like in natural light. You can see.
Turn that bad boy on.
Cadaverous, you know what I mean? I look absolutely ghosty. But cadaverous is a
Ghostly
big word.
Monday.
Yeah. Hang on, let me get this light on.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
What up, party people? Yeah, you know. Niners! Come on, Niners! Wow, that was a slugfest, Albert. That was a slugfest. My God,
it wasn't pretty.
It was not pretty.
Albert, thank you.
Oh, and what up, Kim?
Kim, how are you?
You love it. Love it, love it, love it. Tony was up over the weekend in the studio, and he was helping me with...
Thanks, Tony.
I'll be on remote for most of the... for the next week, I'll be on remote a little bit, so Tony was up getting me all hooked up.
Thanks, Tony.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's a big announcement. We're going to do the show on the road live.
We'll do it live.
Yeah.
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yeah, right on, everybody. Good to be here. Wow. What a remarkable showing and test for the 49ers team. It was by no means clear that they were going to win that game. I think Dallas challenged them in ways they haven't been challenged, Albert. You would certainly give me that through this season. The Niners' schedule has not, in general, tested them the way they were tested yesterday.
No, and also the Cowboys did play well, but we also did see a lot of glimpses of the real Cowboys. The interceptions, the offense moving well, and then a big mistake. And then the best part of the day, other than the Kittle catch, probably was that final play. What was that, Mark? The very last play of the game.
It was a
running back snapping it to a quarterback. All the offensive linemen lined out to the side.
Because they're trying to set up, obviously, some kind of, lateral intensive play where they run down, then they're lateraling, and you need blockers out there. The whole thing was, at that point, but I'll tell you, prior to that, Albert, prior to that very last play, when we didn't stop the clock with less than 2 minutes and we had the opportunity, right? That was a bit of a mistake, and the Cowboys are an explosive team, and we saw some of that explosive yesterday. So
yeah,
I
thought
thought
the big chunk yards at the times when they needed it, and the times that the Niners definitely didn't need it. It was coming off of a 3-and-out or a punt, and you know what? The defense bailed us out. They weren't playing as well, but they did enough to bail us out with the turnovers and the clutch stops. So, you got to. And
you thought you say they weren't playing as well because you're saying they gave up some of the big yardage plays.
Maybe I've just been jaded by the past month, 2 months, 3 month stretch that they've been so dominant to see them allow a couple easy scores. And
that was great, baby.
Yeah. The defense, I think, was more critical perhaps in this victory than the defense had been in other victories. They were this fearsome crew, right? And yet you really needed that fearsome crew to carry the day. Those were critical turnovers, as you say. In fact, they were momentum killers, which I think you mentioned to me. Kim, we were texting back and forth, Albert and myself, feverishly.
You guys are so cute.
We are cute in our little love for the Niners. And Albert's a good sports mind. That's why I like to hear from him. Mm-hmm. But I did feel like those were key moments that the defense provided.
Yeah, so the first turnover, it was a rookie cornerback that usually other teams target. I think that gave him a huge confidence boost there in the first half. And then the second half, Fred Warner, that was an interception. The Cowboys, you felt it, and we all knew that they were going to score that on that drive. So that interception was very, very important.
It is true. I don't know if you're posting this, Kim. I haven't watched the chat, but yeah, the Niners running game became more punishing in the second half. That's often the case with running games, because I feel as though the Cowboys contained the run pretty well in the first half.
Yeah, they have a good defensive line, and they came out hot. I think the Niners have been playing so well that it's like every team is preparing their best against the Niners. It's kind of like they're not slipping under the radar anymore. So
Janice, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No. Everyone just pulling out all the stops there, except for that last play. I still don't know what that last.
Can you let him finish, sir?
I know. I am letting him finish. The last play was just, that's a crazy kind of Hail Mary-ish thing.
It'd be funny if Mike McCarthy did get fired after, and that's his last play ever as the Cowboys coach.
Is that? But he hasn't been fired yet, has he?
No, I hope he doesn't. But it's you never know with the
Sayonara, sucker.
Yeah, see you later, baby. Yeah, you got it.
Sayonara, sucker.
My husband is from Buffalo. Very sad day in our home for him. Very happy day for me with the Niners win. Go Niners. Well, let me tell you a little something about that. Well, first of all, I want to tell you something that's happening in the show, and we will put this to the side pretty quickly after we kick around a little bit on the Bills game. The OG of this show is Raj Mathai. Now, if you don't know why he's the OG, I will explain it in the 11 o'clock hour. He is going to join us at 11 o'clock. Now, Raj is from NBC Bay Area. He's the anchor. He's terrific. And he's terrific as an anchor. But he was a sports guy, and I think he worked within either the Niners organization or he worked for the NFL. But he has really good takes on football. Probably other sports too, but I just love his takes on football. So he will join us, quite generous to do it, because I just literally thought we should get Raj on, and he rallied. I mean, I put the bat beam up just about 5 minutes ago. We were on the air a couple minutes late because of that, and he's going to join us. So that's very, very cool.
I remember when I was booking him for your radio show, Mark, that he said, "Oh, sorry, I can't do this time because I'm interviewing Joe Montana right now." So, okay, Raj.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
And the Niners did invite all the stars. It was nice to see on Twitter, like Barry Bonds, Joe Montana, Roger Craig was an honorary captain. You saw
Jerry Rice had more stuff on him. Albert, Kim, can you rally a picture of Jerry Rice?
Google it.
He was wearing this huge bejeweled helmet. It was pretty huge as a necklace.
It looked like he was getting a neck workout with that chain. It looked very heavy.
They brought back, though, as Albert says, all of the luminaries from the past Niners, and even in the case of Bonds, the Giants. Luminaries would be a ding word, yeah. The Eagles
also
don't play
kicker,
as well.
The Cowboys kicker in the first half was must watch TV. He just came off a week where he missed 4 extra points, and then he missed another one, his first extra point, which was he shanked it, but it was blocked. So the block kind of saved him from. I'm sure the Cowboys fans would have really tore into him.
It would have been delicious if they hadn't blocked it, and then that kick had gone wide. There's Jerry Rice, but you can't see in that shot. He's got this huge. Oh, there you can. Yeah, a little bit. He's got the Niners helmet on. He needs a Mark Thompson advanced hydration system in his hand, doesn't he? He's got some kind of bottle in his hand. He needs
like
the great
canned booze or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just place it inside the helmet. He
needs some. He needs some of our merch. Yeah, he could drink right out of that helmet.
Little drink helmet.
What does OG mean, says Gary. Albert, you want to explain what OG means?
It's a slang term, old gangster.
Yeah, it's a slang term meaning like original. Original. Yeah, so Raj Mathai is that. Now let me get to the Bills. It was brutal. It was a brutal beatdown. They were out. I feel like they were out-coached. And I think that poor coaching was exposed in ways that may speak to what they need to do. Major changes in that organization was exposed through the entire game. And I'll just spend 30 seconds on this because I know most people don't care about the Bills the way I care about the Bills, or we have other fans who care about the Bills who watch this show. But Josh Allen, Bills quarterback, was being pressured immensely, and forced into ridiculous passing situations. Bills were completely rendered ineffective with a three-man rush a lot of the time, which is just, I think, as I say, shining a spotlight on a real issue with an offensive line that should be able to not only protect Josh Allen, but be able to make for a running game, which was also completely shut down by the Bengals. Meantime, Bengals were Mixon, who's their running back, where he was slashing for 8 to 9 yards a pop, and Burrow was showing why he's considered Burrow. I mean, he was the shining light in that game when you consider the two quarterbacks. And Allen is asked to do too much on that Bills team. And so throwing long to Diggs or throwing long to try to open up the game and catch up is something that Josh Allen is asked to do. It's not a winning strategy. Look at the Niners. The Niners don't depend on Purdy or Jimmy G or whomever uncorking it long all the time to stay in a game. The Bills have lived on that this year. I must say the Bills looked more impressive at the beginning of the season. Some of these leaks in the Bills game started to appear toward the end of the season, and I was worried about the Bengals game. I never thought they would be completely dominated. They were by the Bengals, but so it goes.
Yeah, the Bengals are really tough. They're not afraid that they're like the Chiefs killers too. Like they always tend to beat the Chiefs, and they're a young, exciting team. And they had the white uniforms to help blend them into the snow. The snow is very crazy.
Snow is brutal. There's Jerry Rice. See, Jerry Rice looks like an OG there with all the that's the deal on Jerry. So good stuff.
Better picture, yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
What's that, Albert? What?
No, I just said it was a better picture.
Oh, Kim, yeah, that's right. It was a better picture. I agree. I wanted to mention, sadly, what happened in Southern California this weekend.
Yeah.
It was, it's the Chinese New Year, and it's the Lunar Year, and it's a celebration, and it's a time of renewal. It's a time of good feeling. And you have this massacre that occurred. 10 people dead. 72-year-old goes into a dance studio.
Yeah.
Again, this is a community that was really rallying for this celebration related to the New Year. And kills 10 people. He goes to a second location. And this is an interesting... the details are just being pieced together. It does appear that this guy had some relationship to people there at the dance studio. But that said, he goes to a second location and he opens fire. He's about to open fire there. He opens his bag, I think, or whatever, and he starts assembling this gun. And assembling or loading, whatever, the sounds of the gun being prepared were heard by someone. Isn't that what happened, Kim? And then that guy actually interceded and prevented the massacre from continuing there.
He said of the gun, I knew how it was built and customized. It wasn't for robbing money. He said from the body language of the person, the facial expression, the eyes, he was looking for people. That said by a man named, with the last name is Say, T-S-A, Brandon Say, T-S-A-Y, who was actually a computer coder and happened to be at this family business and wrestled that gun away from the man and prevented more loss of life in this case.
We have a bit of the interview with him from GMA. Albert, I don't know where you want to run it, but he was on GMA this morning. Here he is, the guy who interceded.
Now by Brandon Shea, who wrestled the gun away from the shooter at the second dance hall. You saw in Juju's piece the video, the surveillance video of him doing that. Brandon, first and foremost, how are you doing this morning?
You can skip this part. It's the first 10 seconds. He says, I'm fine. He's, whatever. Thank you. I'm sorry.
And just what was going through your mind as this was going on?
Yeah, this is the part you want to hear.
Well, it was Chinese New Year's. We were hosting a social dance party. I was in the lobby It was late into the evening. Most of our customers already left. I wasn't paying attention to the front door. I was looking into the dance ballroom, the dance floor, and this is when I heard
We
the
have the
sound
surveillance
of
video
the
up
front door
if you're
creaking,
listening on the
closing,
podcast.
and instantly followed by the sound of a metal object clinking together as if they were rubbing. That's when I turned around and saw that there was an Asian man holding a gun. My first thoughts was
And did you
I was going to die here. This was it. But
recognize him at all?
then, no, I did not recognize him. This was somebody I have never seen before. He didn't seem like he was here for any money. He wasn't here to rob us. When he was looking around the room, it seemed like he was looking for targets, people to harm.
Stop 1 second, if you would, Albert. We'll continue with it in a second. The details as to motivation, Kim, is there anything new this morning, or it continues to be?
We don't know.
Yeah.
They're still looking for a motive in the case.
He took his own life at the end of all of this, once he was identified. But this guy did really perform an act of heroism, and now get back to it, and he'll describe what happened. Please, Albert.
And how did
This
you
is when
go
he started
about
prepping his
getting the
weapon.
gun,
And
wrestling the gun away from him?
This is when he started prepping the weapon, and something came over me. I realized I needed to get the weapon away from him. I needed to take this weapon, disarm him, or else everybody would have died. When I got the courage, I lunged at him with both my hands, grabbed the weapon, and we had a struggle. We struggled into the lobby, trying to get this gun away from each other. He was hitting me across the face, bashing the back of my head. I was trying to use my elbows to separate the gun away from him, creating some distance. Finally, at one point, I was able to pull the gun away from him, shove him aside, create some distance, point the gun at him, intimidate him, shout at him and say, "Get the hell out of here. I'll shoot. Get away. Go." And at this point, I thought he would run away, but he was just standing there contemplating whether to fight or to run away. I really thought I would have to shoot him if he came at me. This is when he turned around and walked out the door, jogged back to his van. I immediately called police with the gun still in my hand.
So there you go. So then the cops get called. They know now the van that this guy is driving. They have a description, and they ultimately encircle this guy with a SWAT team.
Right.
At which time he takes his own life. Right.
This is hearing that guy speak, you think about, what would you do in that situation? And you just don't know until that moment, what you're motivated to do, or how, whether you're frozen with fear or whether you can move forward. Are you clear thinking? Are you just stopped in the world, in this moment? So that he was able to do that is amazing.
I mean, this is a place that is this city that is the nation's first Asian majority city, and it's a place where people who are Asian should feel safe, especially on the Chinese New Year in this celebration. And, this is a community where people have immigrated from all over Asia. If you go to this place, Monterey Park, you see the signs in Chinese and in Vietnamese. And it's a, now I go there, and I have been there many times, actually, many friends in the Asian community, and for whatever reason, I have to go to Monterey Park through the years, and it is, I love it. Like, if you want acupuncturists, and if you want many in the martial arts field, and all the Asian arts are there and celebrated, and it's like a sweet spot for all of that. But also just there's obviously an authenticity to that Asian community that's settled in that area. And I just think it's so cool to see the signage in all of these different languages. You know, there's an international feel that's there. And I really can't imagine the way that celebration and good feeling is shattered by something like this. And it was an Asian dude who was behind this, who was pulling the trigger. Isn't that right, Kim? This wasn't a white guy. Yeah.
It is. We don't know that they don't recognize him, but they said he looked like, you know, someone that would have fit into their community, would have been there celebrating and dancing. The second dance studio where the man was disarmed is called Lai Lai, Lailai. It means come, like everyone come celebrate, come be here together. When Brandon Say was interviewed, and another thing he said was that it was just this primal instinct that kicked in, and he doesn't even understand anything about why he did what he did. It was just instinct. He just acted that way.
Yeah. Well, we'll give you more as more details come out, but it's a sad thing, and there's just no other way to describe it. But as such, other news, yeah. We've got it. A quick, if you go around the horn.
The Mark Thompson Show.
There are documents everywhere. I mean,
no.
Yeah, more documents. Really? Well, wait a minute. No, we heard about the more documents in his garage. No, I mean more than that more.
Oh, stop with the documents. How many? Why are you taking the documents?
Stop with the documents, Kim is saying. Stop. The FBI, stop, she exclaimed. The FBI searched President Joe Biden. By the way, I haven't mentioned it at all yet today. You know what I'm going to say. Don't make me say it. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Damn it, smash it.
Smash it with your iron rod.
I need a thumbs up. It's free. Smash the like button with your iron rod. And also subscribe and share the show if you would, please. We live in the YouTube algorithm. All the likes that you leave and the number of subscribers we have, that all equates to supporting the show and keeping the show on the air. So thank you very much for that. And if you find it in your heart, please make a contribution to the show. You can do it through super stickers and super chats. You see it right down the bottom of the live chat, super sticker, super chat. If you have a super chat and you leave a super chat money, we'll read your comment on the air, obviously. But we just appreciate, and a lot of you leave us really healthy contributions. You do it anonymously, or you just do it in the spur of the moment here. You don't have a comment with it. You just leave. We will recognize you in the show, and we recognize you at the end of the show. All the Patreon and PayPal contributions are recognized there. So you can get the PayPal Patreon through themarkthompsonshow.com. It'll take you right to Patreon and PayPal and to our links, themarkthompsonshow.com. You got to put the "the" in there. All right, themarkthompsonshow.com. Now, let me quickly just mention this Joe Biden thing, and then I'll get to Kim's news. You know, the FBI, I'm laughing because it's insane that we do this dance. What's going on with these guys and documents that they walk with? The FBI searched President. I have a thought about this that I'll share with you in a second. The FBI searched President Joe Biden's home in Wilmington, Delaware. This happened on Friday after we got off the air. They located additional documents with classified markings, everybody.
What?
Right? Yes, it's true. The president voluntarily allowed the FBI into his home, but the lack of a search warrant did not dim the extraordinary nature of the search. And they needed a warrant to get into the former president's home, Donald Trump's home, or home, Mar-a-Lago resort. Mm-hmm. This compounded the embarrassment to Biden that started with the disclosure that the president's attorney had found a small number of classified records, this is on January 12th, at a former office at Penn Biden Center in Washington. That was just before the midterm elections. Remember, all that happened. Since then, attorneys found 6 classified documents in Biden's Wilmington home library from his time as vice president. Biden has also, kind of said there's no there, and, nothing to see here. But they're clearly a political liability, these various discoveries, and there appear to be, is there an end to it? I don't know.
My bad. I'm
Oh, my God. Yeah, it is a my bad, isn't it?
I heard this wild, crazy conspiracy theory that Matt Gaetz believes
Yeah.
all of these documents were planted by the super secret government in order to have Joe Biden not run again and Gavin Newsom replace him. This according to Matt Gaetz.
Wow. Well, it's yeah, I mean,
What?
you need a narrative. Everybody needs a narrative.
Yes, so.
It was, I would say.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
The thing that is remarkable to me about this Biden thing is that it will likely stick to him and might be an issue right now. There's a lot of time between right now and the general election.
Right.
So if you're just evaluating the political calculus, that's the way I evaluate it. But this is a bizarre thing that we allow public officials and presidents, and vice presidents, those with access to classified information. It's not just president, vice president, senators, congresspeople, et cetera. They all have access to this stuff. Those who received that clearance. I mean, the Trump family all had access to it, right? They were all given clearance. They weren't given clearance initially. The government said they should not be given clearance because of various compromised aspects in their background. I include Kushner and all of that constellation of people around Donald Trump, Ivanka, the two boys. But they all did have access to it. So everybody could walk with it. The amazing thing to me is that we don't keep track of this stuff
Right.
in a more rigorous fashion. Don't you think that that's an embarrassing thing? I mean,
where's the system?
Right.
I mean, it's obvious that if Trump has all these documents for whatever reason,
11,000 documents,
regardless of the differences in the cases, and then Biden has some, again, regardless of how different, the situations may be, that we've got a systemic problem in how we manage our documents. So I think the best thing Biden could do is to have a super powered librarian come in and figure out how are we going to catalog these documents and how are we going to put a system in where you check them out, and if you don't return them day of or hour of, we know.
Hey, when I took my Blockbuster video out, they were running a meter on it. I had to get it back. I had penalties. I mean, if you take a book out of the library, same deal. Kim's right. Now, the archives, the National Archives, they're the government agency charged with keeping track of this stuff. But Kim is so right. I mean, here we are, the greatest country on earth. We can't keep track of classified information. Please.
And who even knew that was a problem? I mean, come on.
Exactly. All of a sudden we found out, and but they did go back and look at Obama, and they didn't find anything with Obama, But
I mean, that we know of, like what's lurking in the bottom of Bush's desk,
That we know of.
We know. I mean, who doesn't have a document at this point?
Right. All right. Let's take a break for Kim's News. When we come back, I do want to mention in the bizarre category, you mentioned Matt Gaetz. I'd like to mention, when it comes to bizarre, Nancy Pelosi and an exorcism at her house, an exorcism of sorts.
Lord.
Yes. I mean, it's not.
That's not fake. That's real.
And I'll talk about it. And also, I have breaking news about the dude who broke into Nancy Pelosi's office on January 6th, sat in her chair, propped his feet up. There was a verdict handed down with him.
I have it in my news. You want me to take it out?
No, that's great. So you'll get that. Yeah. And I love, and I'll comment on anything. I'll chime in here and there on Kim's News. Elizabeth Holmes, I've got news out of that whole world, and Theranos. And Buzz Aldrin got married, everybody. Come on. Yeah. How old is Buzz Aldrin? Does anybody know?
93.
93 is right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know what was
How did he
conspicuously
find another single woman who was 93? That's really terrific.
She's not 93.
Oh, she's not? Wait a
No.
minute. So there's a famous rich guy who didn't marry somebody his age?
But you know what was conspicuously absent from every single article is the age of the bride. Yeah. I had to look it up. She is in her 60s, 66, I think. 67?
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All right, smash the like button like a boss. What's wrong with you people, Joe Box and little Anthony? If you're watching, is it Joe Box?
Joe Box and little Anthony.
Yeah, that's right. Mo Black's brother.
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
I can't even say it. I'm so.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Raj Mathai at 11 o'clock after Kim's News. We'll talk a little bit more about the Niners and the next game against the Eagles. Meantime, Kim's over-the-top news theme, and I'll be back with some Pelosi news as we continue. Smash it like a boss. Oh, I love it. It's like medieval times. Oh, yeah.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. The man who took that gun away from the mass shooting suspect in Southern California this weekend says he thought he was going to die. Absolutely thought that he was going to die. This is Brandon Say, who is the person that we just saw on Good Morning America that managed to disarm that suspect. Brandon Say telling Good Morning America he lunged at the suspect, managed to wrestle the handgun away at a dance studio in Alhambra. This was about 20 minutes after the suspect killed 10 people and injured 10 more in nearby Monterey Park. The FDA plans to streamline the COVID vaccine in much the same way it handles flu shots. In documents shared online, the agency said it will likely assess strains of the coronavirus at least annually and then decide every June which to select for the fall season, a process that's taken while assessing annual flu vaccines. So hopefully they guess right and we know what strain of COVID is going around, because that looks like the way they're going to do the COVID vaccine like the flu vaccine. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy reportedly plans to visit Taiwan later this year. The McCarthy expected to visit the island nation sometime in the spring. The Pentagon in the early stages of planning the visit, as House Republicans have made countering China a major focus of their new majority. And as Mark had mentioned, this fine fellow has been sentenced. It's a jury returning a guilty verdict against the Arkansas man seen putting his feet up on then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office desk during the Capitol riot. Richard Barnett, guilty on all 8 counts. Testifying in his trial last week, Barnett said he regrets taking part in storming the Capitol and was looking for a bathroom when he stumbled upon the Speaker's office.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta, again, everybody loves a narrative, right?
Often
I was there looking for a restroom. There were no restrooms set up outside. You know, when we were on the steps and everything, everybody was climbing and beating on people. There were no restrooms there, so I had to go inside to look for a restroom.
Right.
And then look, lo and behold, Nancy Pelosi's office. So I mean,
as one does, right?
I decided to sit down, prop my legs up, take a couple of pictures, and he did take something from there. By the way, he did not just go in and go out. He took something in an envelope. He took an envelope from Pelosi's office, and he posted that outside to various social media.
Isn't there also video of him calling for some horrible things to happen to her as he rifles around her desk?
Probably. I didn't see that, but I'm sure that sounds consistent with the narrative. Mm-hmm. I'll put it this way. He was distracted from the bathroom search, it seemed, for quite some time.
That often happens to me. You know, I'm looking for a restroom. I end up in some stranger's office.
Right. Well, yeah. And then you grab something. Well, as long as you're in the office, grab what you can.
May as well. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is gearing up for a fight. He is tapping Representatives Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell to sit on the powerful Intelligence Committee. This move setting up a battle with Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who has vowed to deny spots on the panel to both of those California Democrats. But Hakeem Jeffrey says, yeah, I don't care what you think. I'm going to nominate them anyway, putting them on there. There was an earthquake that struck this morning south of San Jose. U.S. Geological Survey says it's about 6 a.m., about 8 miles east of Morgan Hill in Santa Clara County. It's a 3.7. So a lot of people felt it, but no damage or anything. And a movie on Nike's formative years starring these two guys. You know them, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Getting the band back together from right. Good Will Hunting.
Yes. Yeah. It's a theatrical release. Amazon Studios called Air will hit theaters April 5th. Affleck will play Nike co-founder Phil Knight. Damon will play Sonny Vaccaro, the man who signed Michael Jordan to his first shoe deal. So yeah, back together again. I can't see Matt Damon now without hearing the old Jimmy Kimmel song in my head. You know what it is. I'm not going to sing it.
Well, that's the story with Kimmel and Damon, as he used to say at the beginning of his show, apologies to Matt Damon. We ran out of time and couldn't get you on the air tonight, right? Because that was Jimmy first starting. He couldn't get a lot of big stars on the show. Right. But ultimately, of course, he became friends with Damon. Now he's hosted the Oscars once. He's hosting them again. You know what I mean? So he's now he has both Damon and Affleck, and he has that video, as you say, that Kim talks about. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty funny. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz, who we adore and is on vacation this week. Steve Moskowitz has spent 30 years helping people with taxes, whether you're an individual, whether you've got a business that needs help. He's got your back covered. This is 888-TAX-DEAL, the number to call him. You can see at the bottom of your screen, all spelled out for you, the website as well, moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister.
Get your taxes together. Come on, people.
It's time. It's
Get
on the
your
Mark
taxes
Thompson
together. Yeah. What was that, Kim? You're Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah,
okay.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
Why are you yelling?
Everybody on your feet. Come on now.
That's not fake. That's real.
That's fantastic.
This is Mark Thompson.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Wow, that was spirited. Thank you. Thanks for smashing the like button like a boss and for keeping us in your lives the way you have. It's great to have everybody here on a Monday. Niners victory yesterday was by no means guaranteed. That was not a dominating performance, but you're going to run up in the playoffs against, generally speaking, teams that are going to challenge you. And that's what happened. What was that?
It was pretty good.
I get it because Purdy. Yeah.
Thank you.
From NBC Bay Area, Raj Mathai joins us top of the hour, who'll, as you know, he has a background with the Niners and all the rest. Now he's an anchor, of course, on NBC Bay Area, but he'll reflect on the Niners yesterday. But more importantly, maybe, he'll look ahead at what appears to be a dominant Eagles team, and you are going into what is probably, I think, by all accounts from people I've spoken to, the toughest place to play in all of the NFL, Philadelphia. So
that's including if you're an Eagles player. They're very tough on their own team.
That's true.
Like visitor, home team, it's the same. It's equal brother.
Yeah, it is true. The Boo Birds of Philadelphia are not nice to their own. I was noticing in the chat here, Buck says it, and I noticed it as well. I don't know if anybody saw Saturday Night Live, but you can. I have this thing where I want to run stuff for you that I see, but we really run afoul with copyright strikes, and then we get demonetized. And as you know, we're way behind because we were demonetized for December. So I'm really having trouble with the show, trying to get it, back to momentum, because we had great momentum going in December, and then YouTube, Anyway, Black Lotus was really funny. Buck says it on SNL, and I wanted to run it for you. I'm not going to, for the reasons I just mentioned, but if you can find it. Now, you have to have seen White Lotus to appreciate Black Lotus, but if you are aware of White Lotus, or if you're a White Lotus viewer, if you saw the series,
I just finished it last night. Yeah, so good.
Well, then you've got to check it out. Yeah. What was the sentence? It's asked Neiman, the guy who Kim was talking about in her newscast, who... it
was the guilty verdict. Guilty on 8 counts.
Yeah. So has he been sentenced yet? I don't know that he has been.
I don't believe so.
Let me just see.
No.
Let me check my sentencing box. Wait a minute. I have it under the classified documents that I have here in the office.
Where it is?
I'm holding them for Joe Biden. Yeah.
A few in the kitchen, a few in the office.
You sprinkle them around.
Gonna give the FBI something to do.
They convicted him on all counts, so it's likely that he'll get
on the wrist, as like everyone else. Right?
They have been
3 months confined release or whatever.
Yeah, right. Misdemeanor trespassing. No, I don't think so.
An ankle bracelet.
This guy was photographed reclining in a chair in the speaker's office with his feet propped up. He had a stun device on his belt. I don't know if you mentioned that.
I did not.
Yes, you always want. You know what? When you're looking for a bathroom, if somebody's in the way, you got to stun them.
You gotta go. You gotta go. Get out of the way.
That was what he said. He was just looking for a bathroom, is what he said. He did admit to telling the officer, just because we're on this, let me just share this with you, to telling an officer in the Capitol, we're in a war. You need to pick a side. Don't be on the wrong side or you're going to get hurt. He said that to an officer as he was looking for a bathroom.
That's a great line. That's like a war movie line before they
right.
They go
Everybody,
into battle.
Don't
right?
pick a wrong side.
All this toxic masculinity, all this machismo BS. We all live in this, particularly men. Yeah. Be very careful about what you do next. Right. I mean, all that crap. We all just think we're living in it. We're all the stars of our own movie. Yeah. What you do next could be very important to you. Anyway, there's no sentence handed down yet is the answer to your question in the chat. The FBI and Justice Department investigation into the Capitol attack yielded 900 arrests. Of the 900 arrests in the January 6th insurrection riot, 900 arrests, how many pled guilty? 900 arrests. How many people faced with a trial against the federal government, right, actually pleaded their case out and pleaded guilty? I'm taking guesses in the chat live now. How many? 712, says John Watson. 600, says Garcia Mike in Oklahoma. 600 guilty pleas, says Tom. 899 of the 900, says Chris. 200, says Irene.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards like 250, 200 in that range.
Yeah, that's a good guess. 100, says Julie. 500, says Cisco. I love just in the guesses that people have specific numbers. Like, they don't go 300, they go 315, right? 412. Who said that? That's what I'm talking about. Dwayne said that.
Yeah, Dwayne.
412. It's very Price is Right to do it that way. I love that. Of the 900, Kathy says all of them did. 900. The government rarely loses. This is true. This is why I would think you'd be encouraged to plead out your case. And I'm sure the prosecutor makes that point. By the way, we seldom lose a case. We have video of your client actually breaking in.
Here's a
the
great
actual
right here. my commentator right here.
Yeah,
That's how many.
Commentator with 420. 2 years after the riot, the FBI and the Justice Department's investigation into the Capitol attack yielded 900 arrests. How many guilty pleas? The answer is 500. Yeah. 500 people pleaded guilty on that. So that's the latest on that. I promised you something about Nancy Pelosi and an exorcism, as you know. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Now let me share it with you now. Nancy Pelosi, after the savage attack on her husband, tried to get rid of evil spirits from her San Francisco townhouse, it's reported. The former House Speaker and her daughter Alexandra, they report, sat down with the New York Times and made a stunning admission about holding their own private exorcism.
What? So
Thank
weird.
you. Alexandra and said Nancy sought the help of priests after Paul Pelosi was bludgeoned by a hammer-wielding assailant who broke into the couple's home. I think that weighed really heavy on her soul, Nancy Pelosi's daughter Alexandra said. I think it really broke her. Over Thanksgiving, she had priests coming in, trying to have an exorcism of the house and having prayer services. It will take 3 to 4 months before Paul is really back to normal, she said. Of course, the dude who attacked that David DePape guy, arrested and charged with attempted murder, attempted kidnapping, burglary, all that stuff. DePape said that his real target was Nancy, even though he attacked Paul Pelosi because he viewed her as corrupt. She was in D.C. at the time. It's a weird thing about exorcisms, isn't it? I mean,
as if they're not weird by themselves, but yes.
Right. And so here's what I would say about exorcisms. And I think if you buy into religion and religious doctrine and religious ritual, okay, then you can't laugh at this kind of thing. I mean, I know many of you are thinking, oh my God, how ridiculous. Are you kidding me? You bring a bunch of priests in, you sprinkle some holy water, you say a bunch of crap that they got out of it, and you think that that makes things better and gets rid of evil spirits? On the other hand, and I know you're not expecting probably to hear this from me, I think if you are someone who puts faith in that ritual,
right,
then you are soothed by that ritual that I just described. You buy those people who are dressed in the, is it the vestments? Is that the word? And the things that you associate with a holiness, with a spiritual connection that you feel may help you. And as a result, you are soothed by it.
And maybe, when you have people wandering around your house with burning sage and chanting things, you feel like the bad juju is gone. They're clearing out the bad juju from your air. So that's okay.
Right. That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story about doing a pod? I was doing a podcast.
Vestiments is dingable, by the way.
No, vestiments is dingable. Yeah. Thank you. I was doing a podcast, and I remember it was an important guest. I forget who the guest was. I used to do a podcast called The Edge with Mark Thompson.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
I dry docked it when I started doing the KGO show because it was just too much to do. These shows are not easy. You have to think about your show all the time and what you could do and what you can run. I want to share, but I can't do that, and copyright strikes and all the rest. And you have to worry about some of that same stuff, and you have to line up guests, and you have to work their schedule, et cetera. So I forgot about the podcast after I. It's still up there, The Edge, if you want to listen to some of the old conversations. But they've got some good guests. But anyway, I was doing one conversation with a really important guest, Kim, and I'm in the new house. Our old house burned, and all of a sudden I smell fire.
No.
And I'm really sensitized to fire. as you can imagine, we all are. I mean, we have a fireplace, we don't even ever light it. I mean, it's kind of weird how we just are really, But anyway, I know. First, I think it's in my head, and I have this conversation going on with this guest, and I've had to research the guest and read the book or whatever it was, and it starts getting thicker. The smell. I didn't see any smoke or anything, but I'm thinking, well, I'm in a closed room. I don't know if the place is ablaze out there. So while the person is speaking, I run. It was kind of a longer response. I take off the headphones. I run into the hallway where now I smell the smoke a lot. And I get into the living room where it's really a big smell, but not smoky again. Mm-hmm. And there is Courtney sitting with this woman who I still don't know who she is. And they are burning sage for the new house to consecrate it or whatever. Yes.
Sure. Give it a good vibe.
And so I run back into the studio now and I finish the interview. And then after that, I go back out there and I go, can we make an agreement that when we're going to do the various sacraments or the burning of the sage or whatever it is, that we tell the other person?
Right.
Because my heart was beating through my chest thinking the house is on fire again. Yeah.
Right.
So can they do an exorcism on San Francisco? How dare you, John? How dare you? Whenever I'm involved in an exorcism, I always include the New York Times, says Buck.
Right.
Well, they were just they were relating how traumatic it was. So traumatic that Nancy called in the holy men. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the story on that. Oh, I do want to mention, I mentioned Courtney, and thank you so much. Albert, why didn't you mention that I didn't mention Courtney? I mean,
yeah, there's no Murder Mystery Monday.
My
everybody.
God.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
Courtney needs a day off too.
She is at the doctor today. And thank you, Kim, for noticing. Kim C, not my Kim. People in my group, they didn't even mention it. I can't believe it.
I didn't know if we were supposed to mention it.
I mean,
why are you yelling? Private
you're
medical
right.
things going on.
All right.
I don't know.
Kim has the excuse. Albert, you should have used that excuse. You didn't use the excuse, so I'm giving it to Kim. And you get the...
Whoever is producing this
that's
thing
what you get,
has
Albert.
no idea what they're doing.
That's what you
Again, I want to remind everyone, no Murder Mystery Monday today. Okay, sorry.
Albert, thank you.
Kim's news. Then the
Time again?
great Raj Mathai. But before I get to Raj, I want to say a word about Steve Moskowitz. Steve is our sole sponsor. He's so good to participate in this effort to bring this show to you every day. And I want to make a point about Steve. 2 points, really. One about Steve and then one about you. If you're preparing your taxes, Steve should be the guy, and you should be preparing your taxes even if you think, oh, well, the deadline is a few months away. Well, first of all, the deadline is a few months away, and a few months is not that long. There are all kinds of strategic moves you can make, even if you're a sole proprietor, individual filing. Steve can find ways to potentially find you government money. So as we live on less and less income as we get older, or we have various investments that are spinning off various revenue to us as we get older, there are ways to shield some of that revenue from taxes. And you should do it. As Steve always says, the big boys do it. Why shouldn't you do it? So Steve Moskowitz's 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. And the other thing I want to mention about Steve is that he's so approachable. You can have a real conversation with him about whatever your situation is. Ask him to help you. Ask him to evaluate. 888-TAX-DEAL. You've heard him here on the show. You've seen him here on the show. He's not some intimidating force. He's a former cab driver from New York who was super smart, went on to get his accounting degree and get a law degree in tax law. He's a great advocate for you. So if you're in trouble also on taxes, he's your man. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL, or MoskowitzLLP.com, MoskowItz, MoskowitzLLP.com. All right, Kim's News, and then we get the OG, Raj Mathai, will join us talking Niners and the Eagles next week.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Use Mark Thompson.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL. And we begin with the Bay Area on alert following this mass shooting in Southern California. The 10 people killed Saturday night after a Lunar New Year festival ended. San Francisco Mayor London Breed started Chinatown's celebration yesterday with a moment of silence for the victims and their families. Police say they will be increasing patrols in the Chinese community and throughout the city in the coming weeks. Same in San Jose and Oakland for New Year events as well. Oakland police chief, apparently the punishment not meant to be punitive, but the police chief in Oakland, LaRon Armstrong, is waiting to find out whether his job is in jeopardy. The mayor gave an update over the weekend about LaRon Armstrong being placed on leave last Thursday. She said it wasn't intended as punishment, calling it an opportunity to more fully review the findings of the reports, which are due soon. Armstrong is accused of not taking action on a sergeant who ripped the bumper off of a neighbor's car and later fired his gun in an elevator. Another story out of the Bay Area, 25 people looking for a new place to live. This is in San Francisco. They lost nearly everything. Speaking of fire, Mark talking about fire, this apartment building went up in flames. Yesterday morning, it was Hayes and Divisadero in San Francisco. Flames shooting out of the top floor of this place. The fire spread to 2 buildings, and it was contained at that point after an hour of burning. 1 firefighter injured, apparently going to be okay, but had to go to the hospital. And again, 25 people now without a home. House Republicans demanding information about visitors to President Biden's Delaware home. GOP members on the House Oversight Committee sent a letter to the Secret Service requesting visitor information. The lawmakers seeking the information as part of the GOP's investigation into classified documents found at that private residence. So a majority of the suspects in violent protests over the weekend in Atlanta, not from that area. 5 of the 6 people arrested Saturday night, they're not from Georgia. They're being charged with domestic terrorism after several downtown businesses were damaged and a police car set ablaze. This is what started out as a protest over the building of the city's new public safety training center. The United States and Israel kicking off their largest joint military exercise over the weekend. The drills in Israel will include naval, land, air, space, and electronic warfare exercises. Defense officials said it's a sign the United States will continue to have Israel's back, given the turbulence and the instability across that region. Here in the Bay Area, the ACE train, Altamont Commuter Express, restarting service after 2 landslides in Niles Canyon in recent days. Trains running between San Jose and Stockton, and as an added safety measure, Union Pacific will scout ahead of them, making sure all those tracks are clear. Bay Area police warning homeowners, protect your bicycles. Thieves have hit 10 garages in Marin County over the last 6 weeks using a quieter and more covert technique. Here's what they do. Officials say they're armed with a makeshift stick or wire to latch on to the cord and disengage the garage door. This allows them to enter, make off with high-end bikes in just minutes. Police in San Francisco say the crime is actually surging there too. 1 victim was hit for the 2nd time last week. And of course, as Mark mentioned, the San Francisco 49ers celebrating a must-have win. Fans watched the team beat the Dallas Cowboys yesterday, 19-12 Is that right? Advancing to the NFC Championship game for a second straight season means they'll play the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday, and if they claim victory, the 49ers would reach their second Super Bowl in the last 4 seasons. The 49ers have already made history with the longest active win streak in the NFL at 12 games in a row. And when you say that, you have to knock on wood because you don't want to jinx it. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, if you've got a problem, if maybe you just want to make sure you're getting everything right, call Steve Moskowitz. He's at 888-TAX-DEAL. He's also online at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
I've told you it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yes. I am looking forward to Raj Mathai from NBC Bay Area joining us in a few minutes. We're still working on getting him, I think, a link, right, Albert? But Albert's on that. I did want to acknowledge something and something of a, and thanks to a regular listener, viewer, and also consigliere, which is a ding word, John Schneider for sending this to me, that gunman in Monterey Park was hunting for his wife, according to sources. The 72-year-old suspect took his own life as the Torrance PD closed in on him, of course, as reported. But this guy who killed 10 people and injured a dozen others, this 72-year-old guy, was likely looking for his wife at 2 separate dance halls where Lunar New Year festivities were underway. In a way, this doesn't surprise. It seemed to be such a bizarre case. But Kevin, thank you. $25 contribution. I'll get to that in a second. I just want to finish this. There's increasing evidence this was domestic violence, according to 2 law enforcement officers with direct knowledge of the mass shooting.
Yeah.
So that's that. I mean, I say that's that in that we were looking for a motive, and there it was. Now, quickly, should I acknowledge now, Albert? How do you want to do this? You want to do the super stickers and super chats now? You want to do Raj now? What do you want to do, Albert? Take hold of this,
We got a big
man.
star in the lobby. We got it in the green room. We got to get him on the show. We'll do a shout out after.
It's fantastic.
It is fantastic. He is the OG. I mentioned him before. When it comes to this show, he is without peer. Raj Mathai from NBC Bay Area. Come on, everybody. What's up, Raj?
Did you say big star? Is Brock Purdy in the lobby waiting for
How
you
about that? So Brock Purdy was tested in ways that he hadn't really been tested to that point. I mean, let's face it. That was by no means a foregone conclusion that the Niners are going to walk away with that yesterday.
That was a tough game. I loved watching that game. I think everyone, Cowboys fans and Niners fans, regardless of the outcome, that's a football game. I mean, that was tense. That was exciting. That was fun. The crowd was wild. That was awesome. And that Cowboys defense, man, that's real good. It was really good, and it was just a battle. We're going to remember that game for a while.
Now, can we get anything from what you're talking about? That is to say, the way that defense schemed against us for the Eagles? In other words, can we draw from that? What might we see that was similar, and what might we have to step up to take on an insanely talented Eagles team?
Wow, you're sounding like a defensive coordinator. What you
yeah,
used to
come
do in
on,
your
everybody.
previous
Yeah,
life?
thank you. Thank you.
It's a great question, because I was watching that game last night, and then at the end of that game, I was thinking, wow, the Eagles are going to be just as tough defensively. I mean, the Eagles are a really good team. So for the 2 best teams in the NFC are in the championship, which is great. And I have no idea how it's going to play out. I don't think anyone does, because we just have a really good Eagles team and a really good Niners team. So it's going to be good.
I was saying before that playing in Philadelphia is probably, I mean, based on what I'm hearing from others, and this is why I'm asking you, because you really know this stuff. Not just saying that, you know, prior to your anchor and the sports, you've worked, with NFL and, kind of know this. So the question comes to you. I've heard that that's the toughest place to play football of all the stadiums in America. Is that the place that is sort of the most fearsome in terms of an away game?
I think certainly it's in that top 3 or top 5. The Eagles are really good. You're a former weather guy. I want to know what the forecast is.
I haven't looked, but you're right. Do they still play on it? You know, when I was growing up, when I was a kid, they used to play on what is essentially green concrete. You know,
Veteran Stadium. It was
right.
Cold. It was ugly. It was green. It was green concrete.
Now they've changed that, right? Now they've come into the okay.
It's a fancy new field now. I think it's called Lincoln Financial Field, something like that. But I'm curious to know what the forecast is for 3 p.m. Eastern time, Philadelphia time on Sunday, because that's going to play it. But to answer your question, it's a tough place to play. It's just Philly fans are tough. So it's just going to be really difficult. And I was looking at Brock Purdy yesterday. He wasn't great, but he was great because he didn't make those mistakes. With previous quarterbacks, whether it's Jimmy G or anyone else, you're looking at an interception or a fumble, but Brock Purdy just doesn't do that. And that in itself, I don't like when people say, "Oh, he managed the game well." No, he won that game. He did really well for the Niners. It was great.
Does that mean when the other 2 quarterbacks are healthy and they come back, that he has shifted them out of a job, or does he then go sit back on the bench?
I think what we've seen now, he goes in as the starter. Those other guys have to take his job if that's the case. Again, we'll say it again. I don't think Jimmy G's coming back, though we did say that last season in terms to the Niners for next season. So I think looking at it now, it would be Brock Purdy and then whoever else wants to fight for his job, which would be Trey Lance.
I think that's what Mark has to worry about when I fill in for him.
Yes, I do.
Same
I do
kind
have
of
that
situation.
Worry.
Yeah.
Albert has to worry about that too. There's a lot of succession.
Yeah,
oh my God!
That's right.
If you only knew the competition, the jockeying for position. But you make a really good point, and I'm so glad you make it, because I was having this argument while the game was going on with somebody I was watching the game with, and he was saying, well, Purdy he did that thing where that's sort of the default position. He managing the game well. He, has a great team around him. Of course, he has a great team around him, but there are a lot of quarterbacks who have great teams around him, or who wouldn't be as good at managing the situation as Purdy was. The argument was he's a B-level quarterback in an A-level scheme. I don't know about that. I think he's showing A-level skills. Who would you rather have in there? I wouldn't rather have Russell Wilson in there. I wouldn't. I think Wilson makes too many mistakes. I don't think he's the Russell Wilson that he was. I mean, who then?
Do you want Dak Prescott? He outplayed Dak Prescott yesterday. Dak Prescott should have had 3 interceptions actually.
That's right.
At one point, I think it was Fred Warner just dropped it. It was Dre Greenlaw actually. So I don't want anyone else in there. Yeah, you can go with the sexier name, but right now he complements this team the best. If you want to call it game management, that's fine. I don't like that term because it seems to cheapen what he's done by not making mistakes. That's high level football. Is he the most gifted guy? Did everyone get it wrong? No, I think in terms of the draft, you look at height and weight and hand size and all that stuff, and it doesn't measure well. So that's why he was Mr. Irrelevant. But now people really need to start thinking differently about how he is.
So well put. It diminishes him when you talk about him you talk about him as a game manager.
I
he's
think
called
game
upon.
manager. I think Alex Smith and these type of quarterbacks, but I don't see anybody improvise quite like Brock Purdy does. He knows how to do things on the fly, out of the pocket, and he's not just running out of the pocket to run. He's running out of the pocket to make more opportunities. So
yeah, it's a great point.
Really
and the biggest thing with him for me is that I don't look at him as a rookie. Sure, he hasn't been in the NFL as a player, but this guy's a 5th-year starter now, right? 4 years at Iowa State. How many people do we know, even in college, that we've heard of that start as a freshman and a sophomore and junior? That doesn't happen. This guy's been starting games for now in his 5th year. So yes, it's an NFL rookie, and I know the learning curve is much different, but that's when you know how to manage a game. You know how to scramble. You know when to throw the ball away, even though he barely got it done with 1 second left yesterday, right before halftime. So he just knows he's smart, and he's pretty athletic, so it's great.
I think if that 1 second had ticked off it might have been a significant demerit to the point that we would note it in this conversation, but he seemed to have clock awareness. Again,
that would have been his biggest mistake.
Yeah.
If that second ticked off, because it was a not guaranteed, but a sure 3 points.
I mean, I look at other quarterbacks around the league, and then we move on from quarterback. But I mean, they played Geno Smith. I'd rather have Purdy than Smith. Kyler Murray, he's like a highlight reel, but then you see that, he goes poof. Same problem. I wouldn't want him. Carson Wentz, Derek Carr, I mean, these are guys who serve up the kinds of mistakes that you suggest, Raj, he was able to avoid. Purdy was able to excel all game and avoid mistakes. You're not going to light up the highlight reel on every set of downs. Sometimes you do just have to manage a situation.
And last point about the quarterback. So now you're down to the final four. And this is where it gets tough, because now you're saying, is he better than Mahomes? No. Joe Burrow? No. Jalen Hurts? Maybe not. I mean, now you're getting down to the cream of the crop. So this will be the test. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be tight.
Yeah. I mean, again, this isn't a punt, pass, and kick contest, though. So we are, we have a fearsome defense, and we have weapons beyond just the quarterback position. So again, it's not just who has the best star at quarterback. I mean, Hurts to me is a tremendous threat. I mean, I just don't know how you defense against this guy who's capable of doing so much by himself.
Sorry, the Niners defense is going to have to hit him and make him a little hesitant as the game moves forward.
Even against Dak, I saw that there was a great pass rush, but sometimes it's tough to close all those gaps. And Prescott took advantage of that a couple of times.
I'm excited. I'm just excited to see this game because they're really evenly matched, and it's going to be down to one or two plays, which is what the playoffs are all about. Even yesterday's game, it was 2 interceptions, right? Missed point after, that poor kicker for Dallas. But, it's little things like that.
That was Albert called that. What did you call it? Appointment TV, Albert, to watch the field goal kicker.
TV. Right when the Cowboys
nice
scored.
NBC plug, Albert. That's why I love you.
Yeah.
Right when the Cowboys scored, everybody was tuning in to watch the kicker.
And poor guy, that kick was good. Well, that kick was going to miss. It doesn't matter if it was blocked or not.
He got saved by the block. Exactly. Yeah. He was going to miss another one. By the way, it's my NBC mug. I normally am wearing my, my Mark Thompson Show mug is what I'm rocking. But today, in your honor, I've got the NBC. By the way, last thing, I did promise, Albert. I promised Raj a Mark Thompson Show throat pillow if he would join us today.
You can cuddle up with that. That's
yeah,
nice.
Kim, this is a premium item. And we're going to send it out to Raj.
The trophies over there, top left on his screen.
Yeah, put it next to your Emmys. There's make room on the mantle. Raj, we love you for joining. Last minute, I told everybody I just threw up the bat beam, and you were there, man. You are the OG. We love you. Thank you.
You guys have a great show. Always appreciate the invite, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in Philly, and then maybe, you never know, Arizona in a few weeks for the Super Bowl.
Wouldn't that be sweet? If so, we'll talk again. All right.
Yep.
Thanks,
See
Raj.
you then. Bye,
love
guys.
it. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, he's only the greatest. He really is the greatest.
Yeah.
Raj Mathai, find him on NBC Bay Area every night. Yeah. And he really had, I think, the right takes. I'm just so good. Again, he brings such authority to that conversation. So very, very cool. Well, I have a bit of a law and disorder for you.
All right.
But when do you want me to do the shout outs and recognizing everybody who's been such a big part of supporting us, Albert? When would you like to do that? Have you thought this through? And we can do it now. I can do it after Law and Disorder. When would you like to do it, Albert? You're the producer.
Let's do it now.
All right.
Albert, thank you.
All right. Let's do it. Tell me Kevin Hobbs, who is a regular listener, viewer, and contributor. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah, Kevin Hobbs. $25. Come on, Kevin Hobbs.
Big shout out.
Yeah, big shout out. How do you give you the third big shout out, Kevin? How's that?
Big shout out.
Yeah. Right on, right on. Thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Buck Meadows for $2.99. Come on, Buck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Buck, for $2.99. The super sticker. I appreciate that so much. Helps keep us in business. Helps keep the show on the air. So thank you, Buck. John Schneider, who supports the show in so many ways. John, $19.99. I'm going to give you a thank you. John is like, he's an advisor to the show. He has experience in the YouTube universe, and he's very helpful. So for him to step up that way. Yeah, go for it.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is great. I like that.
Thank you so much.
That Chappelle is the thank you. Yeah. And I want to give all of you.
Thank you so much.
And
thank you so much.
A British thank you so much. There's still time in the program, 40 minutes. If you find it in your heart, please step up, visit themarkthompsonshow.com. Click contribute. You'll find a Patreon link. You'll find a PayPal link. Click through and leave a contribution if you would. themarkthompsonshow.com. When you go on the web, it'll look like that. Click one or the other and help keep this program alive. Thank you. Or as we say,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Very cool. Well, with the world in some version of craziness now, we cannot run let me just tell you this. My world is all what we can run, what we can't. We can't run the new Law and Disorder theme married to the graphics. So we have to have a new theme made. Yeah. And Craig, who is terrific, he's the guy he's a production ninja. He puts together all the opens and closes. He's just terrific. He did a new Law and Disorder open for us, and you're about to hear it. But I haven't married it yet to the graphics, so that has to be done by Tony or by Albert. So that will happen. But so we'll do this old school with no graphic attached. But let's do some Law and Disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
Yeah, baby. I think that was a nice one. Good job. Yeah. Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes tried to flee the United States.
Oh, Liz.
After a jury convicted her of felony fraud. This is according to federal prosecutors who said this in a new court filing. This is a quote, Holmes booked an international flight to Mexico, departing on January 26, 2022.
Just going to the beach house, you know.
Without a scheduled return trip, though, Kim. It's, that's...
What?
There's no bueno, Elizabeth.
Yeah. Why not just schedule a return? At least you'd have some high ground, even if you're not going to take the flight back. The government anticipates that Holmes will say that she did not, in fact, leave the country as scheduled, but it is difficult to know with certainty what she would have done had the government not intervened. The government got wind of this, and that's why she didn't go. Holmes's partner, hotel heir Billy Evans, did leave the country on that day with a one-way ticket and didn't return for several weeks.
No.
Yeah. Of course, Holmes is convicted after a 4-month trial on 4 counts of fraud, bilking investors in her blood testing startup, which was completely a fraud. 144 million is what they
My
were.
bad. I'm sorry.
I was watching the Madoff documentary. It's 4 parts on Netflix, and I recommend it. I'll tell you why. Because I watched the Frontline, the PBS Frontline, and we've all read about Madoff. We know what happened, but I watched, I'm kind of compare documentaries right now. There was a really good PBS Frontline on what happened with Madoff, and I watched that. So years go by since that Frontline documentary, and now Netflix has a 4-part series on Madoff and what happened. And I just learned so much more, and there's so much first-person stuff. And again, I knew a lot about the Madoff thing. I knew about the 17th floor and, like the way he walled off and separated family, it seemed, from a lot of what was going on. But you learn a lot in this Netflix series, so I recommend it. I think it's called Madoff or something. I don't know exactly what you can check it out on Netflix.
Google it.
Yeah, you'll find it. Anyway, that is my recommendation in terms of lawlessness and bilkiness. The Virginia boy who shot that Abigail Zwerner, he was 6 years old, remember? Mm-hmm. He had said that he wanted to light her on fire and watch her die. This is a 6-year-old saying that. He said that to another teacher. Zwerner and other Rich Neck teachers said they had shared their fears about the child's grave behavior with administrators prior to the entire incident. They had their concerns downplayed or ignored.
Oh.
Zwerner had asked for support with the boy, expressed concerns about his behavior. Teachers wrote in online messages to Newport News Superintendent George Parker III. She had asked for help, one school staff member wrote. Several times, she asked. The child, who was known to throw furniture and other objects in the classroom, once wrote in a note to a teacher that he hated her and wanted to set her on fire to kill her. When she brought the disturbing letter to school administrators, they told her to drop it. It's unclear whether the threat was actually made. But there was this note. Another time, the student managed to block a teacher and other students from leaving their classroom by barricading the doors. This is the same kid, the 6-year-old. They were only freed after the teacher banged on the door and a colleague across the hall managed to get it open. You don't think of a 6-year-old being able to cause this kind of mayhem, do you? Zwerner, 25, was shot in the chest, I'll remind you, on January 6th while teaching her first grade class. She sent her student... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, for the frustrating part is, then the lead up to this, what can the teacher really do? Because you can't put your hands on a child, right? You can't kick the child out of school for something that hasn't happened yet. It's hard to expel a child because everyone has a right to an education. And if they say that if the school district says a child needs to be institutionalized or a special school, then the school district has to pay for it. And that money isn't available. So
why can't you throw the kid out of school again?
There has to be a huge burden met because everyone has the right to an education. So if you're not going to provide that child an education, then you have to figure out how this child's going to be educated. You can't just kick a kid out of school, I don't believe, unless it's over and over and over again a pattern of abuse, which it sounds like it was headed that way.
I mean, I wonder, if that burden should be shifted then. It seems to me that whatever that burden is, if it's too great for this to have met it, then maybe that burden should be lowered. Zwerner is 25. She was shot in the chest January 6th, as I was saying, while teaching her first grade class. This is what I wanted to say, though, just as we move on. She sent her students out of the classroom after being shot. She got them out before collapsing, and then she was rushed to the hospital. So, and what do you do with that 6-year-old kid? Pretty remarkable. Yeah. And finally, T.J. Holmes. Everybody loves the T.J. Yeah, he was teeing his J with a 24-year-old ABC employee in his office, according to reports. Apparently, he did like to tee his J a lot. A much younger subordinate while on the job. Well, I mean, that's what you want. I mean, if you're going to, you want the much younger. He is out at GMA, as we reported. He was a predator who took full advantage of his position, and he was reckless, said one source at ABC. The person that he was rolling around with was a script supervisor. Script coordinator is what they called her. It was her first real job in television. It was a big deal for her. She was looking for a mentor. These are quotes. Looking for a mentor, and she reached out to several people. TJ was among those who responded. but he absolutely abused the position of trust. Apparently, they would grab drinks together, TJ and this woman, and then they started rolling around together. He's now 45 years old. He was a correspondent at the time. Wow.
Sayonara, sucker.
Sayonara, sucker. He's done.
Sayonara, sucker.
The other thing, I mean, it's, it's never easy in that business.
I've told you it's never easy being in this
That's
business.
Law and Disorder for
Tune
today.
in again next time for more Law and Disorder on the Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Yeah, that would be the disorder part of Law and Disorder. Smash the like button for
with your iron rod.
for a quick second. It doesn't cost you anything. Smash it like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Love the fact that we have Kim's News standing by.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah, and Albert, we've got a big half hour, don't we, still to go, buddy? I mean, this is big, wouldn't you say?
Albert, thank you.
It's huge.
Enormous, it's huge. Okay. Much to do. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. This is not really a newscast without, of course, including former President Donald Trump, who is now lashing out at Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and his wife Elaine Chao. In a post on
Don't talk to me that way.
In a post on Truth Social, Trump used apparently a racist nickname to refer to Chao and questioned whether she and McConnell had something to do with President Biden's alleged mishandling of classified documents. He said McConnell is very close to Biden and will give them, Democrats, he said, will give them whatever they want and will give China whatever they want. Chao
And this is their new hoax.
Wow.
Chao previously served as Trump's transportation secretary. In a previous post, Trump called McConnell either the worst negotiator in the history of politics or a stone-cold crook.
Wow. He really doesn't like Mitch McConnell anymore.
No.
And
really...
Elaine Chao was a, I believe she was corrupt. She was corrupt in the way that the American administrative system is corrupt. She was able to serve up a lot of transportation deals to her husband's state. Now, again, it wasn't anything illegal, so it's not corrupt that way, but it's, again, just she amplified the corruption that you can do legally. Yeah.
It's not a good look, is it? No.
No. But that is a cute picture of them. If you're watching live or if you're watching in replay on YouTube, we did have a cute picture of the two of them. So they do take a cute picture.
Top state officials in Utah plan to sue major social media companies over alleged harms that they pose to children. Governor Spencer Cox saying the companies know that their platforms can negatively impact the mental health of children and teens, and they have done nothing to address those concerns. It's unclear when the lawsuits may be filed or which companies that state plans to target. Turns out many New Yorkers would like the so-called embattled Congressman George Santos to resign. A new Siena College survey shows 59% of New Yorkers asked say he should step down. 56% say they view Santos unfavorably. The poll was taken last week when Santos was denying allegations that he took money raised for a disabled veteran's dog, and that dog ended up dying. You know, we make a lot of fun of Florida on this show, but I'll tell you, the damage estimates from Hurricane Ian just keep on rising. Insurers reported $12.9 billion in losses to the Florida Department of Insurance Regulation, that as of Friday. Nearly 250,000 claims have been filed in Lee County, where the Category 4 storm struck in late September near Fort Myers. So the recovery effort continues there. There is a second death now being blamed on a falling Denny's sign. This happened in Kentucky. Family members say, Lloyd Curtis died early this morning, 4 days after the sign at the restaurant in Elizabethtown crushed the car with his wife Lillian and adult daughter inside. Lillian Curtis died right after that accident happened in 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts in that area. So, yeah, Denny's sign just came right down, smashed right into that car.
Jeez, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah. Do like, though, to end on not such a sad note. So we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about the Razzies. A Marilyn Monroe biopic has scored 8 Razzie nominations. Blonde, it's called, a biopic of Marilyn Monroe's life, is receiving the most nominations for this year's Razzies with 8. It is up for the worst picture and the worst screenplay. Ouch. 2-time Oscar winner Tom Hanks has been given 3 nominations, one for his performance in Elvis. The Razzies organizers describe their awards as the ugly cousin to the Oscars, highlighting what they see as the worst films of the year. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz, who is the best, actually. Steve, for 30 years, has put his tax knowledge to work for everyone that needs him. Individuals, businesses, it doesn't matter what you got, he's got you. 888-TAX-DEAL, the number, Moskowitz LLP, the website. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
I stand corrected. I misspoke. My words upset so many people. My bad. I'm sorry.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker, Joe Box, and Little Anthony.
What he's got going here is a situation. There's a reason that this place is fun.
Someone did this to spoil our Christmas. I have never heard of something like that.
There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
Nobody has ever put something like this together that I've ever seen.
We've never seen anything like it before.
I have a busy week.
I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created.
God bless America. The end.
Girl, you just rude. Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong? Huh?
Who is having that conversation?
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
The science is ridiculous.
It's fantastic.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Isn't anybody but a weed?
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Seriously, what the
Yeah, seriously. I mean, you know, great to have you with us. There's a lot still to do. We did a lot. If you missed it, we had Raj Mathai on earlier this hour from NBC Bay Area talking about the Niners and the Eagles and what's coming up on that big Sunday confrontation, the last game before the Super Bowl. We also talked about the massacre in Southern California and everything that went into it. A couple of words from the hero who was, frankly, he was part of stopping greater carnage than had already gone down, already 10 people dead by the time that heroic act was part of the narrative. And honestly, it may have, who knows how many lives might have been additionally taken had it not been for that guy. So all of that and more. One thing that we touched on, and we touched on the Pelosi exorcism, but I mentioned that Buzz Aldrin was married over the weekend, and that's kind of exciting. He wed his longtime love. A private ceremony in L.A. It happened just after we went off the air on Friday. He just celebrated his 93rd birthday on Friday, and he married his girlfriend, who Kim has pointed out is 63. She had to do some digging some journalistic digging to find it, but she did find it. Not his first marriage, right, Kim? He first married Joan Archer. Yeah.
Marriage
He
number
married
4.
Joan. And in what?
4. Marriage 4.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, that's yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
That's right. 4 thank yous. Still well short, 4 short of the Larry King high water mark for marriages, which is 8.
What can you tell us about the scene?
First married Joan Archer in 1954. That marriage ended in divorce in 1974. So that's a pretty long time, right? That's 20 years, is it? Something like that?
Yeah. I think they had a kid or something, too, as well. A child. Yeah.
They welcomed 3 children together, Kim. Thank you very much.
No, he has 2 with one and 1 with another lady, I think.
Right. Again, fine work. Yes. His second wife, married in 1975. Their relationship ended after just 3 years. 10 years later, he found love again, they say, with his third wife, Lois Driggs.
Shout out.
Lois Driggs Cannon. He was married to her for 24 years before they divorced in 2012. So he's a long hauler. He's like those moon missions. He wants to, but once in a while, one just comes up a little bit short. You have to abort the mission. And they did that after 3 years. There she is.
Yeah.
That's his, if you're watching on YouTube, his wife.
She has like a master's or doctorate in chemical engineering. She's no slouch. And she works for the Buzz Aldrin Foundation or some such. So,
Well, no.
There's never been anything like this.
I look at, sometimes I look at these women, the younger women who marry men in their 90s or, older men. And I think, are they trying to take advantage of these men? So.
Well, I mean, as I always, and I said this first with Anna Nicole Smith, because people said, well, he's this super rich billionaire dude is hooking up with Anna Nicole Smith just because she's hot.
Right.
And she's hooking up with him just because he has what? Money.
Yeah. Big shout out.
And what did I say? I said, so what?
Yeah.
So what? It's a win-win. He's got the money. What is he supposed to donate it all to some charitable foundation? That's not going to happen.
But at 93, what's the point of getting married? 93.
People are 93 and they want some kind of consecration of their love at 93. I am completely sympathetic. Absolutely. And
or maybe
if they're
she's
marrying,
just taking his children's inheritance.
Right. And that's exactly what they sued in the case of Anna Nicole Smith to maintain, that she was taking their inheritance. Same happened with who's the cable mogul who also was super old, I guess, but there's
Rupert Murdoch?
No, but he was starts with an M. It's not John Malone. It's anyway, he had these threesomes, I think, with women, and he was eating, he was kind of out of it though. So you begin to wonder if he's in his right mind at that point. But the fact that he's 92 or 93 means nothing. I mean, absolutely can be as vital mentally. And so he wants to connect with this younger woman. So what?
Yeah.
So she's only in it for the money. Again, that's life. He's got the money. Yeah. She's got the time. They're, getting together for whatever reason. I'm sorry. I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
Were you looking for Ted Turner? Was that the name, Ted Turner?
No, not Ted Turner, although he's now suffering from Alzheimer's. It's
it was Malone. I think you're right on that.
Was it Malone? Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad we got to it before the chat. I was just going through the chat trying to steal their answers.
Oh, oh, I see. Yeah, it was
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, exactly. I feel as though Sumner Redstone. No, it was not John Malone. Thank you, Leonard Krauss. Sumner Redstone. That's exactly who I'm thinking of. Sumner Redstone. John Malone is also. It's tough to keep these moguls straight.
Also
I will
a
give
cable
you.
mogul. Yeah.
Yes, it's very tough to keep them straight. And
they
Murdoch
call him the
is
cable
also,
cowboy.
But
John
Sumner
Malone.
Redstone. Thank you, Leonard. That's exactly who I was thinking of. He used to literally have he would only eat steak, and he would have sex with the wife and somebody else. He had all these kinds of interesting or bizarre, eccentric, maybe you want to call them, life
Smashed it
choices.
with your iron rod.
He was smashing it with his iron rod. So anyway, that's that. So good luck to Buzz Aldrin is the end of all of that. That's what that was all about.
Also,
Yeah.
Buzz Aldrin, very early YouTube viral video of him punching the conspiracy theorist.
Oh,
very
yeah.
early on in the YouTube, that was one of the few very early viral videos.
Yes. In fact, that is delicious if you haven't gone back to see it. Somebody goes up and, really says that suggests that the lunar mission is not legit. They never went to the moon, all that. And he slugs him. He slugs him.
He was he wasn't young at that time either, so it was very respectable to see him.
It was an old man slug that really still took him down. Yeah. So there's that.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Sal Bando died. He was people who know the A's know Sal Bando. He was a third baseman for the A's, captained 3 World Series teams. There he is. There's Sal Bando in the 70s. He had cancer. He was 78. 4-time All-Star, 16 seasons playing with the A's and the Milwaukee Brewers. He joined the Brewers front office after that and served as their general manager. But Bay Area kids, you may remember Sal Bando. Sal's wife of 54 years, Sandy, is left behind. And he has sons, Sal Jr., Sonny, and Steph. Nicknamed Captain Sal, he played 11 seasons with the A's, debuting at 22 in 1966 and became a regular after the club moved in 1968 from Kansas City to Oakland. He hit a career-high 31 home runs, made his first All-Star team, marked the first of 10 straight seasons. He totaled at least 15 homers and 75 RBIs. Yeah, great for the game of baseball. Sal Bando passes away. Yeah. Can I do some... Yeah, he was great for the game, indeed. You're keeping track of if there's anything I need to attend to in the chat, please let me know. Otherwise, I continue
we've been
on.
having quite a few super chats, so we'll get to that towards the end of the show. So we do see your contributions, and we'll eventually get to it.
Oh, okay, very, very good.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I wanted to tell you that in the world of George Santos, I know you mentioned George Santos in your newscast, Kim. He admits to
nothing
having been. Well, he admits to being in drag, right? To being in drag shows but not a drag queen. He objects to that, and it's a little like I said I was Jewish. I didn't mean I was Jew. I didn't mean I was Jew. I meant I was Jew-ish. I'm not a drag queen. I'm drag queen adjacent. But several images and videos showing Santos in drag have recently resurfaced online, have been widely circulated on social media, they say.
And really, who wouldn't? If you had the picture, wouldn't you be like the first one to say, "You dirty hypocrite, here's the photo"?
Well, again, I have no problem with him being in drag. In fact, more power to him.
That's exactly right.
Right. But the problem is that he objects to that lifestyle.
Oh, you just woo.
In every way imaginable. With sort of there is George Santos walking through.
Not a drag queen in Brazil, guys. I was young and I had fun at a festival.
Yeah, I was young and I was at a festival. Thank you, Albert. That's he can never walk through the luggage area again at an airport without being approached. Yeah, that's
well deserved.
That's
I
your
don't feel
sentence.
bad for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel bad for him either. I mean, the guy's lied about every part of his existence.
It has made Twitter very entertaining because there'll be a post not even closely remotely related to George Santos, and they'll say, "Oh, George Santos was also this," or "George Santos could also do this."
Yeah, that's true. Teachers in Manatee County, Florida, are being told to make their classroom libraries and any other unvetted book inaccessible to students, or they could be prosecuted for a felony. The new policy is part of an effort to comply with new laws and regulations championed by Governor Ron DeSantis.
Hey, that's going to help with your teacher shortage.
Yeah. It's based on the premise that's promoted by right-wing advocacy groups that teachers and libraries are being used to groom students, or indoctrinate students with leftist ideologies. Kevin Chapman, the chief of staff for the Manatee County School District, said that the policy was communicated to principals in a meeting last Wednesday. Individual schools are now in the process of informing teachers and other staff of this. Teachers in Manatee County lamented this news on social media. "My heart is broken for Florida students," said one. "I'm forced to pack up my classroom library." Boy, it's just, I don't know. It's a sign of the times. Is that what this stuff is about?
At a local bookstore in Petaluma, they have a table. You walk into Copperfield's Books, and it's all most of the banned books. And they have one in the kids section, and they have one in the adult section. And that's right where the kids go first, right to the banned books. And I say, bravo, go get it.
And that is the reality. By banning them, you make them more desirable. By making it forbidden, you want to see it, When I was a kid and I used to walk through the carnivals, the state fairs and everything, there were these tents where you'd see the woman with no arms and they had all of these the reptile man, and it would be these kinds of things. It was lurid, and it was played off as really forbidden. I mean, right. but also seedy. It was not just you can't go here. Like you'd say, you can't go down the street because of the orange cones but also because something's happening in here that's seedy. Mm-hmm. It's sinful. It's wrong. As a kid, that's all I wanted to see.
Makes you
want I didn't have any money. They were expensive. I think it was, I don't know how much it was, but I didn't have any money. But I just wanted to go in there. And by the time I had money, I didn't want to go in anymore. Because I'd lived the seedy life. I'd lived the sin. By then, you've seen everything. But, it was...
So they're going to prosecute teachers if they have banned books in their rooms that kids can have access to.
That's right.
And the banned books are... Who decides what books are banned? The parents and the PTA or what? School board? Some arbitrary committee?
I think there'll be a committee, right? Exactly. Yeah. And that committee, and whether or not you get a chance to survive and serve on it, is informed by a lot of things that are associated with these policies of repression of information. And I mean, I just think it's a really bad way to be. And it's a bad way to be for the reasons that you've said as well. It defeats the purpose, their own purposes. T-Mobile has been hacked again. The mobile giant says malicious intruders stole data on 37 million customers.
What?
Including addresses and phone numbers. T-Mobile, this is their second major data breach, I'll remind you. They say around 37 million customers had their personal data stolen. An unidentified malicious intruder hacked the mobile giant's network. Company told the Securities and Exchange Commission that that the breach was discovered on January 5th. They have dates of birth, they have phone numbers, they have customers' addresses. I mean, that's enough to jack the hell out of your identity. Based on their investigation to date, the breach did not expose passwords or PINs or bank account or credit card details. They also say that no social security numbers or other government IDs were captured. They said that they'd notified law enforcement and federal agencies, saying that the data was first accessed on or around November 25th. In July, I'll remind you, T-Mobile was forced to pay $350 million after customers filed a class action lawsuit because of their last data breach. Now, the last data breach, I'll also remind you, that did include Social Security number information. Also had driver's license information.
Do you sometimes feel like everybody now has had their data breached from some company.
That's
There's not one of us left that some bad guy doesn't know your email address, your date of birth, and maybe your social security number. You know?
I mean, I think Kim's making such a good point that you feel as though these systems by which they're protecting our data are porous, you know, and you end up with these kinds of breaches being more common than they should be.
I mean, even LifeLock. They're
Right.
supposed to be able to protect your information. And then you
That
got a data breach. Who doesn't
truly
have a
was,
data breach?
yeah, that was the most ironic data breach. You know, again, was it the biggest data breach?
No.
I don't know how they all stack up against each other, but I promise you, going away, it's the most ironic. Their whole model is this is the place you put your things when you don't want to worry about there being any kind of breach.
Yeah.
And of course, there was the breach.
I mean, who among us hasn't received the email, "Dear customer, your data may have been accessed by unsavory characters," whatever. I mean, I think I've received several. I'm screwed at this point. I don't even pay attention anymore. Like, yeah, I know. Everyone knows who I am. Got it.
No, it's true. And Laurie says, geez, and we're mad at Biden for waiting to tell the public after he already reported to authorities. Yeah, it's true. They took a while. Let's see, it was in November. In November was when the breach happened. They reported to authorities January 5th. Unclear when they knew about it, but
is this the T-Mobile breach?
Yeah, the T-Mobile breach. Yeah, thank you, the T-Mobile breach. Jay Siller 7 says no business company should have your social security number or driver's license. I agree with you, but now your last 4 digits of your social, that's another thing that's become standard, Kim. You know, they just sort of expect you to surrender the last 4 digits of your social. So it's a right, exactly. Oh, here you go. Let's just make it so you can't have your stuff stolen, even if they know your social security number. Yeah, well, let's do that. And as to the banning of books, DeSantis is turning into another Hitler. I don't care if I'm breaking Godwin's law. Yeah. I don't know what that's in relation to.
I don't
Chris.
like the comparison to Hitler. I think diminishes what Hitler did. I feel like, you know, there's a difference between the hideousness of banning books versus the hideousness of, you know, walking up to someone carrying such a book and shooting them in the head. That would be Hitler. There's a bit of a difference there. You know, this violence and the killing and the death and the ugliness with which Hitler acted can't be compared to anything else, I don't believe.
I think that's a fair point in some ways. To be fair to the person who wrote the text to us, I would say that the Nazis burned books, which is why, you know, you could say the Nazis, I mean, that sort of fascist authoritarianism that's associated with that level of suppression of books and written materials, that is Nazism. I mean, that was one of the things they did.
Groups burned books. You know, I just...
Right. Well, I mean, you can look at Pol Pot and what he did with the intellectuals. He literally killed anybody who wore glasses. I mean, imagine. I mean, that would this. So, yes, the madness of dictators through history has taken on all forms. I think you're right to put Hitler in his own category, but the Nazis did burn books, so I get that part as well. So anyway, this is just some of what's going on in the U.S. right now.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Albert, we are at the end of the show. I hate this, that we're at the end of the show, but it does give me a chance to recognize those of you who have supported us. Thank you for bringing joy to our mornings. Isn't that nice? Karen, cute. Come on, Karen. I'm going to give you a Big Dan Ashley shout out.
Big shout out.
I'll give you another one.
Big shout out.
Thank you. I'm going to give you a...
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karen. That's my British thank you, the finest. Appreciate you so much, Karen. You're a supporter of this show. I've noticed, and I appreciate it. Wes Theory, come on, $4 from Wes with a super sticker.
Thank you very much.
You are the coolest, Wes. Give you a Big Dan Ashley shout out. Yeah.
I love his cartoon picture, too.
Yeah, he does have a great avatar.
Yeah.
Love it. Very cool, Wes. Thank you. A lot of you are. Vivian L. Shawa, come on, for $19.99. I'm not going to cry.
That's so nice.
I'm not going to cry, but I am close. Thank you, Vivian. Big Dan Ashley shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Vivian. Really cool of you with a super sticker. Orlando Young with $25. Hi, Orlando Young.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Orlando Young. And
Thank you so much,
Orlando Young. Very, very cool. Thank you. This is what sustains us. Sadly, we need these contributions.
Mm-hmm.
It's like doing a telethon every day when you have one of these shows. And I try not to hit you over the head with it, but it's really cool that you step up and respond to our entreaties about support. Entreaties would be a ding word, most definitely. Now, let me know what's going on in Nikki's show. It's all right there.
49ers. She's going to talk about that. Talk about update the shooting from Monterey Park, which we had spoken about earlier. Conservatives appear to win in the battle against M&M's spokes candies. What? We'll talk about that as well. And there's apparently a big sticker shock over PG&E bills. We at this house had the biggest one we've ever had. So a lot of people getting these PG&E bills in the mail and are floored by the price increase. All that and more coming up on the Nikki Maduro show. It starts right after Mark Thompson here on the YouTube and the podcast and the whatnot.
Yeah, the YouTube world. Right. How about that? It's going to be pretty cool. I must tell you that sadly, and I am sad about it, our time together has wound down today.
I'm not ready.
Nor am I. I do have an important thing to tell you. Tomorrow, Kim will be hosting the show tomorrow.
What?
But I'll have a pre-recorded conversation with one of David Crosby's best friends. And he's got some great reflections. Also, his biographer. He wrote both the David Crosby books. And he gives it to you straight. It's a really great conversation with Carl Gottlieb. He also wrote Jaws and The Jerk with Steve Martin. He's a great screenwriter as well. And then Wednesday, Kim will be doing the show with Jim Avila.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, that'll be. And John Hoffman will be here Wednesday. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of politics. I'll be back with you from Washington, D.C. Thursday, Friday, and Monday, and then that's what we're going to do. And
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
You have to run Shadow and our farewell, Kim.
Out of time. Bye.
You must, all right? Over to Nikki for Kim, and thanks. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.